Well, our next guest on Big Blend Radio today is Bobbi DePorter. We call her the Queen of Excellence, and she's joining us to talk about how the flexibility of excellence can play a role in the upcoming holiday seasons, goal setting, and even following through on those goals. Apparently, we got to not be so rigid on things.
Well, it's that busy time where everybody gets a little tense.
We're not allowed that. We're not allowed that. Now, Bobbi is the co-founder of Super Camp, the world's largest summer academic achievement program for teens and preteens. She's the president of Quantum Learning Network, and she also developed the 8 Keys of Excellence character education program. It is free for families. This is something really cool to get going together, especially now at this time of year. You can go to 8keys.org, and that's number 8, and we're proud to be ambassadors of the 8 Keys of Excellence, not only covering stories on our radio shows, but as we travel on our Love Your Parks tour,
flexibility.
We gather stories of excellence everywhere we go. Yes, flexibility is definitely one of them. Bobbi's also the author of a number of books, including the 8 Keys of Excellence, Principles to Live By, and her latest is Excellence in Teaching and Learning, the Quantum Learning System. She co-authored that with Barbara K. Given. You can keep up with all things Bobbi. Go to supercamp.com. You can also go to qln.com, and again, 8keys.org. Queen of Excellence, Bobbi, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Good to be with you.
Always good to have you back on the show. We're excited to talk about flexibility. Does that mean I get to do yoga?
Maybe so.
I know.
Be an example.
You know, what is this? Every time you come on a show, the other guest segments flow right into it. Even if you're after them, it just goes right there from the beginning. How does that happen? Do they just have their own energy that just kind of goes in there and says, okay, you're all going to be flexible now? Story, do you know what I mean? It just happens every time, how it just kind of it goes out there. It says you will.
We're in sync.
Yeah, I like that. It's good. Everything is in sync with that. So, the 8 Keys of Excellence, I know we talk about this pretty much every month with you on the 8 Keys, and it's a mission to get 50 million kids living these 8 Keys. And I know we're going to talk about the flexibility key of excellence, the 7th key, and especially looking ahead as the holiday season comes up. And at that point, we're at that last quarter of the year where we start looking at 2019. And then next thing you know, January's here, and oh my gosh, the New Year's resolutions, and then 3 days later, so flexibility may need to be coming into power at that point. But before we go there, the 8 Keys of Excellence, do you want to run through them and give everybody an idea of each key?
Yes. The 8 Keys of Excellence are universal principles, and I think that's a lot why we're so in sync, and we share values. And these are universal principles that when we focus on them, we are kind of on the same page. So the first key, there's 8 of them, is integrity, which is match behavior with values. Second is failure leads to success. It's learn from mistakes. Speak with good purpose. Speak honestly and kindly. This is it. Make the most of every moment. Commitment, make your dreams happen. Ownership, take responsibility for actions. Flexibility, which we're talking about, be willing to do things differently. And balance, live your best life.
I like them all, and they do. I find that flexibility actually goes it's a good pairing. Here it is, like wine and cheese. It's a good pairing with commitment, because I think sometimes when you think of flexibility, people think you are going to lose your commitment. That's that fear factor of not being flexible. Yet at the same time, you need it.
The key to this, as we're talking about keys, between commitment and flexibility, because commitment is making your dreams happen and taking positive action and following your vision unwaveringly. It's doing whatever it takes to do it. So you're committed. This is what you're doing no matter what. And then flexibility is about recognizing what's not working and be willing to change to achieve your goal. We talked about, mentioned goal setting, which happens a lot during the first of the year. And we make commitments to our goal and what we're going to do. But the end result is to get your goal. So one is being committed, but we always think, it's this one path to get to that goal. And we're committed, so we're going to keep doing it over and over and over again. Well, if we're doing something that's not working over and over and over again because we're committed to it, we have to look at the big picture. So the big picture is always out there. It's like, what do you want to achieve and what's the goal? And it's like the sailboat tacking. You're looking at what is the results, what's happening, what am I seeing, and what do I need to do differently to follow that path to get to my goal. So they're both really true. There's a quote out there that a sign of intelligence is to hold two opposing thoughts at the same time. That you can do that. So on one hand, you're completely committed doing whatever it takes, and the other is be willing to change.
Wow.
See what's not working and change to get your goal. So it's being able to hold that all at the same time.
Well, I think in a way that flexibility is the path to make sure that you don't give up or change your goal. Because all you have to do is look at a different way of doing it, as opposed to there's only one way. So in a way, flexibility is kind of that protection for commitment to make sure that you can get to your goal.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause it is, especially sometimes when you're working with committees and something is hard to achieve, there's always a portion of the people there. The first instinct is, well, okay, maybe the goal is too big, so let's change the goal. And instead of maybe looking at it, well, let's do it by baby steps, and we've already tried this, so let's do something different. If you try something and it doesn't work, then you just try a different way. I mean, you do as a kid. When your mother says no, then they go, well, what about if I go and do it this way? How kids come up with
Don't look at me.
Yeah, different ways of trying to get what they want, even, but somehow by the time we're adults, we kind of lose that creativity of how to get what you want, how to get to that goal.
It's looking at what works, what is working, what could work better, and it's really an example of how they work. The keys work together so well.
Do you think kids kind of poke their parents this way by being that way? What Nancy was saying, like, oh, I'm going to go at it this way because I really want that candy bar. If I put it this way, then maybe they'll let me have it. You know what I mean? Or like, we're at the holiday season. Mommy, Daddy, this is the toy I want. And they'll be really creative and flexible in how they're going to get it, by how they're going to, keep pitching it to their parents. But do you think it's actually, when you hear that creativity come out of a child, that it actually spurs some creativity for adults? It reminds us to take the other road sometimes.
Well, it's really looking at who we are and being in integrity, another key, and looking what we want. And we want to be a person of integrity. And as we're going towards our goal, and also it brings in balance, too, being mindful of ourselves and others. So it really is the character of who we are and really knowing who we are as a good person, with who we are and what we hold, and orchestrating. All the keys are kind of orchestrating, and flexibility is not just about getting around something or someone else. Sometimes I think flexibility is used as an excuse. When you get into a situation with somebody, you feel like, oh, you need to be more flexible. Well, you can't just be telling somebody, oh, you need to be more flexible, because it gets to be like a make wrong or an excuse about it. So it really is being that person of integrity, of good character, knowing who you are, being mindful of yourself and others, and going forward to get your goal, and holding positive goals out there for yourself and going for them is really the bigger picture of what the 8 keys of excellence are about.
Absolutely. That's exactly, because none of it works without the integrity key. None of it works unless you come from that authentic place. And it does, there's an unsettling thing when you're not living in integrity. It
always catches up.
It's always going to catch up to you, but there's who you are, and it's about getting to know who you are too. And integrity isn't like, okay, I'm just going to be 100% correct or right or do the right thing. It's do the right thing is absolutely a majority of that, but there's that. You have to know who you are. I think that's part of integrity, is to understand who you are as an individual.
Absolutely, it is. It's like, what are your values and what is your behavior, and does it match those values and who you are? And it's
Mhm.
so you feel good about yourself too. It's like when you go to sleep at night, you know that we all have upsets that happen in our life. Things didn't go the way we wanted,
Mhm.
but looking at our own behavior, and when we end the day that we feel, okay, I did my best today. You know, I was
Yeah.
there to move things forward, which is the opposite of trying to manipulate people or do things in a way, um, to that's not appropriate, because you want to feel good about yourself at the end of the day. And that's what's so powerful about them, to have that core, because sometimes, we work with so many youth and they haven't thought about it. They haven't thought about really what I value. They just think, oh, I want to fit in, and so
Mm.
here's a group of kids, and what do I need to do? How do I need to behave? Which could be bad behavior, it could be good, could be bad, but just to fit in without really
Mhm.
knowing who I am. But when I know who I am, then like-minded people gravitate for you, or you make choices where you do feel good about yourself and you feel good enough and you are enough. And that's that big shift. You see it in kids' faces, when they come to super camp and we work on the 8 keys, and you see shifts in their face and shifts in how they're holding themselves and interacting. And
Mhm.
sometimes I even see puzzled looks on their face. It's like, wow,
Hmm.
I said something that was important to me and was real for me, and I usually don't open up about that. I did, and I got positive feedback. It's better
Mm.
relationships all the way around, from your friends, from your mom and dad. I had one girl this summer. She came to camp, and she had gotten into a fight with her mom before she came to super camp, and she told her mom, "You can't make me come. I don't want to come." And she just came with a bad attitude. So she was against everything the first, couple of days at camp. And then she told me this after she left. She said it was about day 3. She said, "Wait a minute. I'm making some really good friends here. I'm really liking what I'm learning. Wait a minute." And then she said, "I wasted the first 3 days because I had a bad
Mm.
attitude. I, wasn't being flexible. I was just being rigid and mad to get back to my mom." And she said, "I just wasted 3 days."
Oh, but
Mm.
that's the lesson. That's
That's a
that's
huge lesson.
that's like a perfect lesson, isn't it? Like when
Yeah.
it really hits home that way. It is.
Mm.
It's about finding your voice. And
Mhm.
that's I think when discover your passion, when you start to discover the things you like, the things you care about, and then you really will. When you really want to do something, you have to be flexible. Look at us with the Love Your Parks tour. Man, there's
Mhm.
roadblocks, detours, potholes, bumps, um, trees. There's and it's been one big flexible journey, and
Mhm.
it's really interesting. But if you really, we've had to change how we go because we changed as we go. We changed our belief system. It was the same belief system, the belief in communities and parks and quality of life. That never changed. It's how we did it, and
How we
we
do it.
learned so much more because you pick up these things as you go towards your passion, and your passion never is really. I think passion is like excellence in regards to you're never done. It just keeps building. And success is, okay, I got from A to B and I got there on time this time. Success. But passion is something that rolls with excellence. There's an energy to it, but you keep picking up all these lessons along the way. So if you're not learning these lessons, then flexibility teaches you that. That's part of like failure leads to success, the second key. You're going to change. It's just the way it is, and gravity will do it to you too.
We often get into this place where we think it has to look a certain way. We
Yeah.
may have gotten our goal, but it's not looking how I thought it was going to look.
Yeah.
So, I don't
Exactly.
validate, oh, it didn't really happen because it didn't look, it had to happen this way. No, it happened another way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And being
Yeah.
aware of that, not discarding, it happens.
Oh, I like that because
Mhm.
so many times people will, I've done that as a songwriter. Oh, this is what it was. I put it down on paper, played it out, and I'm like, that's not what it wants. Crumple it up. And
Mhm.
luckily, I kept a lot of my crumples. And then you go back in your crumple pile, and you find out actually it was that, and it just went this direction, but it still has that core of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So if
Yeah.
I'd thrown it away, it would have been bye bye. and so then you do lose that. But those experiences are real. When we look at the holiday season now, I know we've talked about this over the years, Bobbi. People put so much stress on themselves, and all ages, right? Do you think teenagers and preteens and kids are feeling the stress of the holidays?
Yeah, well, they pick up the whole family. So however anybody is feeling, they pick it up. So, and if people are busy and not being able to spend time with them, they can not feel so good about themselves as well. And again, it's like having these pictures. When I was reflecting on the holidays again for flexibility, I kept thinking we have so many traditions, and traditions have so many wonderful things about them, and they feel wonderful in certain cases, or because you've done it from generation to generation, we always do that way. And what came up for me is looking at, does it still fit? Does it need to look that way? Can we examine what our traditions are, and are they really doing the things that will be most joyful for everyone and get together? Because I've just this last couple of years, I have the Christmas and Thanksgiving holidays, and from my family growing up, it was done a certain way, and then I did it for my kids, and I have the grandkids now that grew up, and we're doing it. In the last couple of years, it's like people are living in different places and different things happening, and I really checked in with my emotions, about it. First of all, with Thanksgiving, it's a busy time to travel. I have my daughter's on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast, and Joe and I are here, and it was okay, that's a busy time to travel, and then there were other things going on with the family, which is, working and then not having time to really, prepare the big meal, and then that's all we're doing is bringing out the dishes, and it felt like, man, it's a lot of stress and a lot doing it. And this year, for the first time, actually, next week in October, she said, let's just do it another time. And so next week, Joe and I are flying back. First of all, the weather, there's not as much travel traffic. The weather's nicer. We're going to see fall foliage. We're having relaxed time. It's not feeling we have to do the big meal. We'll do meals together, but it'll be different. And instead of being in their house, we're going to meet at the Jersey Shore, and we're going to be able to walk along the beach and be together differently, and just
I want to come with you.
Relaxed time together.
Yeah, I vote for picnics.
Yeah, picnics.
Yes. And she said,
I vote for picnics.
So it's a new tradition now, a fall foliage. We'll just let's get together, let's eat together, let's be. And then there were other relatives, that one in particular that needed care and to be picked up and dropped off, that's there for Thanksgiving, and it was like, now it's just Joe and I with the family, and we're just going to relax and have a good time with them. So that worked. And then for Christmas, we went with my son in Chicago. Well, they got a condo in Arizona, which is great weather, as you know. And it was like,
especially now,
Phoenix. Yeah, they're in the Phoenix area. So, then we'll go there for Christmas. This is great. And then the girls were, we want to be home for Christmas morning. And I tell you, emotionally, I just got oh my gosh, in my stomach. It was like, oh my gosh, not being there for Christmas morning was like, I had to kind of work through that. But Christmas afternoon, they are flying to Arizona, so it made no sense for Joe and I to fly all the way there and then turn around and come to Arizona. So we just see them the day after in Arizona. So it's like, okay, that was flexible. But we did that last year, and it was like, okay, relaxed. And, in Scottsdale, they have that beautiful art community with lights and trees and music, and all the art galleries are open, and there's food, and so that's where we spent the afternoon and evening, was just walking through the beautiful streets and lights and looking at art and sitting and eating and having conversation, and okay, that looked different.
But that's awesome.
But you're still holding the tradition of being together for a common purpose, know, and so just getting rid of some of the trappings and the whole hard work of things, You know, I mean, a lot of the traditions that we have for Thanksgiving and Christmas really kind of come from the World War II era kind of thing. And I think after World War II, people really, really pushed hard to keep traditions and hold on to them because they felt like they almost lost them.
Mm.
But now, you know, it's kind of like everything's so different. You're not so disconnected. You know, in the World War II eras, you snail mail was how you could communicate. Now you've got the internet, and you can actually talk to people and see them at the same time now. So I think we can relax a little bit here
and change it up. I think it's important because the reality is families are spread out around the world because technology has changed where, you know, careers have changed. Things have changed. Again, flexibility, the world's going to move. And that's what everyone's going to have to do, something different to unite. The key is uniting and keeping to that commitment of family. That's the important part. And the flexibility is how you're going to do it, which I always find exciting.
Exactly.
We stopped the family thing because it wasn't pleasant for us, and so we changed what we do. But Nancy and I've always had we're very different in how we celebrate the holidays. I remember holidays where Nancy and I were like, we sat in Africa making pizza because we missed pizza, and she knew what she wanted.
Awesome.
And so we wanted pizza, so we made our own hand dough and everything, and it was a mother-daughter thing where we sat and made pizza together. Then one year it was we're making ice creams together and going to the beach because it's summer is at Christmas. So you're having Christmas at the beach in like hot weather, you know, getting sunburned on Christmas. So it's a little different. But there's something about it, I think, now, too, again, families being around all over the country, around the world, but also division in family. So if a family, if the parents have divorced and there's the back and forth between the kids, it should be, I see a lot of it with my friends, you know, having to share holidays, and it's a stressful time for all and also for the kids. And sometimes it becomes a competitive match against the parents, like, oh, you know, we're going to have the biggest Thanksgiving, we're going to have the best Christmas decorations, it's going to be like all out crazy, you know, trying to outdo each other in that. And I think when you just create something brand new, it takes that stress part away and focuses on let's do something together when you're in that kind of stressful environment. Because I know it happens. I've watched it with so many of my friends having to handle that, and you know the kid's feeling it, you know. When
we
there's
think
a
it has to look a certain way, you know, or it doesn't count versus, like, what is the real goal? The goal is to be together, to spend time, have wonderful, deep conversations, play together, you know, that's what it's about.
I think this year I'm going to have an ugly Christmas sweater just to be different for me. I haven't had an ugly Christmas sweater for years.
But one time in South Africa, I didn't realize that Halloween wasn't celebrated there. I just thought
they are now, by the way.
Well, you probably started it. So we arrived at friends' house dressed up in costumes with trick or treat, and they just opened the door and they were like, "What is this?"
Now they're like, "Nancy, what are you doing again?"
I know, it was really, really funny. You know, and then you had to, you know, check in with yourself. Hello, you just make that assumption that everybody does the same thing as you do, and it's interesting.
I think the best one for me, and to this day, still, I think we've talked about this before on the show, Bobbi, with you. Still today, one of my most precious memories of Christmas. I didn't really know much about Christmas that much because I wasn't in the States that long as a kid. You know, I remember like vaguely there was a Christmas thing, you know, with presents, but we left when I was a year and a half, 2 years old. Yeah. And when this was after Nancy worked out in the bush with Joy Adamson. We lived in Nairobi, and so she had some friends, and you know, they were American and from Britain or England. And so everybody, you're in the equator, so there's no such thing as snow here unless you go up to Kilimanjaro. But they were like wanting to create Christmas for their kids. How do we do this? And they had a dead thorn tree that they put up, and it was all cornered off so no one would get hurt in the house. Like it was cornered off but it was decorated with lights and Christmas decorations that they could get. It was like, yeah, you're going to get popcorn because that's really all you're going to get over there at that point. But it was a made-up Christmas tree. It was completely not what a Christmas tree looks like here, but it was all these different cultures coming together over this thorn tree. And it's funny because you think of unity, and here we are with a thorn tree, not an olive tree. And it worked, but it's still, to me, this memory of all of us kids learning about these traditions and having to celebrate them, but in a unique way. And it was, you're going to compromise, you're going to make change, but it was the coolest looking Christmas tree ever.
You didn't have to hook things to dangle them.
No,
you just stuck them on the thorn.
I know. So I think those are those lessons that we got to learn, and that's the same when we start setting our goals. What are some things some parents can look at with helping, sitting down with their kids, setting goals, and should they get involved in that process?
One is just creating the time. We hear so much from kids that nobody ever asked me or there's no time. They just get so busy in what's next and don't stop and reflect and think. So just going through that whole conversation, one is parents sharing themselves. Sometimes parents get busy and don't share what they're thinking, what they want. And for a child, it could be, wow, my parent has a goal. My parents want something they don't have. So it really is opening up a conversation that's real together. And then, and for parents to say, oh, these are some things that, I have a goal for this year. This is something I want to do. And then, let's think for a minute. What do we all want? And give time for thinking. Sometimes we ask a question and expect an answer to come right out. It's like thinking about, okay, what might be a goal, and for the end of the year, the future, or for the next month, or for the next. Just thinking about what's important to you. So you can go down a list and ask questions. What's important to you? What do you like? What it goes along the lines of what you're passionate about. What are your interests? And then it's about. Sometimes people don't list a goal because it's outside their comfort zone. And so one is we always have a conversation about, what are things you do you're really comfortable with? And then what's something that you would like to do that's, a little bit out, a little uncomfortable for you? And then what's something that's really big for you but really uncomfortable? And just looking at, we talk about the learning zone, but just what's out there. Because sometimes they go too quick with just a simple goal and really like thinking, wow, it's something you really want, but you don't think that you're good enough. You don't think that you're able to do it. You don't think it would ever happen. You don't want to be disappointed, so you're not going to even put it out there to the universe, And just having a real conversation about what those things are. And then it's not like this rigid, here's my 5 goals and here's the date. It's good to be specific, but sometimes I think we just get too specific and timely. What's something would really is out there, but you'd be so passionate that you could feel an emotion in your stomach about it. It would excite you to even think about, versus, oh, here's a goal. I know for 100% I'm going to make it, so I'll put it down.
So, or ones you've already done here.
Yeah, but this is where the integrity is, right? Where you can cheat yourself, Yeah. It's like giving yourself a list of 10 things to do when you really only need to put the 3 on there so that you can check off the other 7. It's like, what am I going to do today? I'm going to walk from this door to the next door. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's that, that authentic part. I like that. And I love the part about this is so interesting, talking about what makes you uncomfortable, because that's always what we really should be doing, right? You know how Facebook pops up with your personal memories that you've said or done or posted on your page?
Yes.
Today was 6 years ago on this date, and this is in the preparations for the tour, when we did phase 1 of the tour, which is interesting, And it's October 10th. Sometimes it just all comes together, and that is wonderful. Step in the shoe of fear, and then you can wear the boot, and then you will walk further than you dreamed. Walkabout. I have no idea what happened, but it's got to be with the tour. I don't know if it's the 1 hour walk thing. We weren't there yet on that, but I don't know what happened. But obviously, I got over some hurdle, and I wish I'd written more. I'm like, come on, Lisa. It's probably in a daytimer stuck in a box ready to go back to storage again. So it's going to be somewhere written down. What do you do with all your yellow pads of paper? Do you have big boxes full? Because I know you write everything. Do you ever like go back and say, okay, like categorize them with notes like that?
Yeah, with what the goals were at times.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I could do more of that. I do. I have just a notebook at home that
Mhm.
do put out. I don't journal daily, but there are times when I will journal out and put
Mhm.
things and comments about what I want there. Or I'll mind map, which is note taking in color and put branches on and different areas like what am I doing with my family? What am I doing with my friends? What am I doing with our organization and the work that we do? What are things that are coming up that I want to have happen? So I'm more take a piece of paper and make a mind map is more often what I do.
And then also when you look at those kind of goal settings and mind mapping, I love that. And there's vision boarding, mind mapping. I like that because it's like that road. When you look at a family situation and setting, the one thing I want to say is like when you're having these conversations, it is cool to have the 8 keys because you can utilize them as tools in the conversation. I think they're a cool part of that amongst a family. But what about a family in a way to even teach the younger kids what a goal is to have like a family goal? Maybe it's a vacation and everyone's going to save their pennies for it, or somebody's going to do the research, or that kind of thing. Do you recommend families have a united goal?
Yes, we absolutely do that. And that particular activity is in our activities on the 8 Key Family Program online as well. But one is we really recommend and is to have a weekly family dinner, if not more often, but at least one family dinner a week without cell phones and to have conversation. So we have conversation starters about that, and some of the conversations are about what do we want to do as a family? Let's pick something that would be fun, and we can all talk about it and decide on. People can all contribute to what their ideas are, and then we align on one of the ideas and see what we do as a whole family to make it happen, make it a reality, which could be just a picnic in the park in a month from now, or it could be anything. Plant a garden.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Okay.
I like that.
Don't start me on that. I'll help. Can I come? I'll do the digging because I'm good at that. My key thing is digging, and if you want me to go on the nursery run, I'll do that too. And if you want me to plant it, I'll do it too. Would you like me to design
the whole thing?
I'm in. Plant a garden. Can we do native plant gardens? And can we mix vegetables in the native plants? Here we go.
See, it's so beautiful. You've got energy on that, and that's what finding things that a particular family is just so passionate about, and people, yes, I want to do that. And then if they spend enough time together, they can find something that resonates with all the family, because that's so joyous and that's so fun, and it's not work, and it's not like, oh, we have to be together to do something. It's like, no, I'm so excited about that, and I have my part, and I'm proud of what I did.
It's like a play. It's like a family play, and that's one cool tradition for families is have put a play on.
Really fun.
That's always the cool thing. Like, okay, what are we going to do this year for the one side of the family's coming over? We're going to do our play. They're going to do their play. Things like that. I mean, that's how
really fun.
You could have a big family goal. Whether it's a vacation or planting a garden or meeting somewhere. The food. It could be the menu. That part you could look at it that way. This year my goal is to not burn the potatoes. I'm going to keep learning.
Way around that is just don't cook them.
Well, and here's the other part. As families are spread out and coming together. It was interesting talking with Mike Guardia. I'm still calling him Military Mike. He was talking about having to go from being, an active duty in the military into the world of, being a civilian and that change. And so when you think about change that happens, and then there's the, reuniting of family members, and sometimes there's a shyness with it. There's a, how do we communicate? And you have this amazing way of getting people to talk to each other by that one question. You want to tell everybody that one exercise? Especially, between the generations would be cool.
I have a few of them, so I'm looking at which one
tell
right
me
now.
something. Tell me
something that, yes, the affinity we call it.
There you
go.
That
one is tell me something I don't know that if I knew, I'd know you better. And, what's really interesting about that is, with family members, there's always something I don't know. I learn new things from Joe. Sometimes it's like, wow, after all these decades, it's like I learned something new. So, but that helps. And then what is something that we have in common, and that's really nice, too. It's like, what do we have in common? Or here's something I appreciate about you. Those are beautiful type questions that people always feel closer by, and there's always something. Even if you've just met somebody, you can find something that you can share with them.
I've heard people got married over things like this.
Yes. Somebody in our office absolutely took a train trip, sat next to somebody and did the affinity process, and they ended up being married.
Just saying, everybody, that holiday season going around. You never know.
Running around asking
There's
questions.
a lot of love that happens between this time and, through to February. It's interesting. And that's the other thing is families that have not met getting together. It could be an engagement party and, for the first time, new couples bringing their families together. I think this affinity exercise is it's just one of those icebreakers, conversation, and it's just this really positive thing that people can do to really set the tone of conversation. Like you say, conversation, that continued conversation is so important. So, all right, the 8 Keys, everybody. You got to go to 8keys.org. That's the place to go. There's all kinds of programs, and this could be your family goal. We're all going to work on the 8 Keys. Now, Bobbi, you change the key each year, right? Are you getting ready to turn your old key in for the new key?
I know. Well, we do it at the beginning of the summer as well, and then we have a vision. So I'm working on 2 of them right now. I've got integrity and balance are my keys right now. So things happen all the time, and I always look, okay, what particular meaning does it have key for me right now?
Yeah, I think every day it hits me like, okay, what are you experiencing? Okay, why? Check it out. Check it out. Think about it. Oh, man, always good to have you back on the show. I know we've got more segments coming up with you this year. I've got some more tourism talk to do as well. But I know you're going to go have some amazing family time, so enjoy, Bobbi.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, wonderful. And we've got a song for you, of course. This one is from Sam Ionis. He's one of the famous duo, the Bodines, and he lost his guitars, got stolen, and somebody found a guitar similar to it, a Goya guitar, and it was all beat up, and fixed the guitar. And he wrote an album from the guitar because it was his muse. And this song is Follow Your Heart. And to me, that's the thing. That's what the 8 Keys are about. It goes with what we were talking about, Follow Your Heart. So everyone, Sam Ionis, it's L-L-A-N-A-S, Sam Ionis, Return of the Goya Part 1, because he's not done with this album. So you can go to his website. And, again, everything for Super Camp is supercamp.com. It's never too early to start planning for next year summer camp. In fact, the holiday season may be a good time to talk about that.
I would think so, yeah.
Wasn't it, Bobbi? Like families talking about when it's that goal planning,
Yeah, absolutely.
Put Super Camp on there. So, again, supercamp.com and 8keys.org, and you can find it all on social media as well. Thanks so much for joining us, Bobbi. It was such a pleasure.
Yes, it was fun. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care, and hi to Joe as well.
Yeah.
All righty.
Thanks. Okay. And we're going to get to that song in just a second, but of course, sometimes I have to be flexible because guess what? It didn't happen the way it's supposed to. Oh, here it is. I did find it. I got nervous, but here it is. Follow your heart.
That was just a demonstration of flexibility, right on purpose.
There you go.